have guessed by the title of the video, today I will be reviewing a video from Freely, the Banana Girl.
I've had obese nutritionists try and tell me that my diet is wrong, and I'm like, hey, just because you got a bit of paper doesn't mean I'm going to take your advice. I want to see the results. Where are your blood tests?
So basically, she's saying that she has written a book, it's sold well, and because of that, she knows more than someone who has dedicated their life to actually studying these things. This is a terrible fallacy, a terrible argument, and I'm sure we'll come back to it.
Hey Fruitbats, welcome to another episode. So since I made that orthorexia video the other day that's had like 250,000 hits or something like that, I've been getting a lot of interview requests.
Alright, so she did indeed make a video on orthorexia, and I thought I would share a few clips of it with you. Fun fact, the video is called Do I Have Orthorexia? Plus Food I Ate Today. So, yeah, this might be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, Fruitbats, we are on to breakfast. These are going to get into my cells any moment. Whole bunch of dates there. We've got vanilla drops, we've got coconut sugar, and basically the same smoothie that I have most mornings. I've got about 1.7 litres, and hydration is just so important to how you feel, so important to like your skin, to, you know, the functioning of your body. I have like 2 smoothies with about 1.7 litres per day, so that's like 3.4 litres, is it sensitive? Yeah, so this is how we do it. This is how we do it in the Banana Girl's house. And this is really tasty, very frothy, and as you can see it's pretty frothy because, look at that. Oh my goodness.
Alright, and again, we're discussing whether or not she has orthorexia later in the video, or so I'm promised. The next clip after this one is her doing some really strange things. I really recommend watching this video if you can stand lots of cringe. I can.
And today's topic, so I went for my bike ride, had my smoothie, and today's topic is on orthorexia. And some of you might be like, what the heck is orthorexia?
I warned you when I said this video would have a lot of cringe. You didn't listen. Here's some more.
It's not like a commonly used term, you know, it's gaining popularity, it is. But orthorexia is basically the fixation on purity. You know, everything that you put in your mouth, everything that you do has to be pure. Okay, and this can be a real problem, and I've seen it in the raw vegan movement become a problem. I've seen it with myself even as a raw vegan early on, having this feeling like, you know, cooked food is poison. And I can't have any cooked food because it's poison, it's going to poison me. And if that was true, then I would be poisoned now because I'm eating cooked food, my blood tests are great, so obviously that is a load of crap.
And here we have an excellent example of the fallacy, whereby one's reasoning is fallacious, but the conclusion is actually correct. She says that it is crap because of her own anecdotal experience, which is an incorrect form of argument. It is a fallacy. However, it is correct that cooking your food is not dangerous for you, but not for that reason.
But it can get out of control and it can become unhealthy. So this pursuit of purity, I understand it because, you know, you're coming from unhealthy. You're coming from such an unhealthy lifestyle, from being, you know, not looking after yourself and eating junk food, and you want to put the best possible food in your belly. And that is totally understandable, but it can get obsessive. And for me, especially coming from past of anorexia, I definitely, you know, have this tendency to go a bit extreme with things.
Alright, and therein we have the fundamental flaw of the argument. The first thing she is doing is saying that, you know, it's not necessarily the foods you eat that are dangerous to you. It is how much of them you eat and your mental predisposition to them and whether or not you're addicted to them. And that's fine and good, and I agree with that, for the most part. But the bigger issue is, she says that she's not pushing it on other people, when clearly in the other video, the one I started with, she is. We'll come back to it very shortly.
And some of you might be like, yeah, veganism is extreme.
No, it's not extreme. If you're getting healthier, if your blood tests are great like mine are, if you're feeling better and looking better, if you just want to, if you want to look after the animals and people's health and the planet, that's not orthorexia.
And therein lies the contradiction. She just told us...
But it can get obsessive. And for me, especially coming from past of anorexia...
And note, this is not a jab at anorexia. This is simply pointing out that this is the opposite sort of thing in the same mental category. So instead of focusing now on simply not eating anything, she's focusing on not eating most things because of where they come from, or what perceived negative effects she may have from them, regardless of whether or not those effects are true. It is why she is a vegan, after all, because she believes that anything processed, cooked, or otherwise altered from its natural state is somehow toxic to her, despite the fact that it is not. It is still a mental problem. And that is why it is orthorexia, because she is preaching to you about how the food should be taken, and how it should make you feel better when you think about it, and how it should make you feel healthier when you think about it. Again, blood tests are not definitive in determining healthiness, as are any tests by themselves. You can have blood work that shows almost everything in your body is perfect, and it doesn't mean that it is. And in the same way, the fact that she is obsessing over the fact that all of these things are good and they have to be good to keep her mentality straight indicates that this is, at least in my layman's view, orthorexia. Otherwise, she wouldn't be talking about it this much.
Okay, let's get that straight. That's actually just having high standards for your health and well-being and being concerned about the planet.
And let's go back to the definition of orthorexia, a medical condition in which the sufferer systematically avoids specific foods in the belief that they are harmful. She is specifically avoiding meat and animal products, including honey, milk, eggs, and so on, because she believes they are harmful to her health despite the science that shows otherwise. Now, again, it is entirely possible that eating too much of anything will harm you, or not eating enough of anything will harm you. However, that is not the question here. The question is whether or not she believes certain things are harmful and are therefore avoiding them regardless of whether or not they are. And in this case, she is. Now, back to reviewing the original video.
So this morning I actually went on the Today Show, which is like huge in Australia.
I think she is going for an appeal to authority fallacy as well as perhaps a bandwagon fallacy. So I'll leave that bit in.
You can look back and go, oh, I wish I said this, I wish I said this. But in the moment, it can be extremely, challenging to get all that information together that you want to in the moment.
That's very true. However, the fact that you're doing this as an actual pre-recorded video and you're not very much better put together, I'm going to presume that this is just your standard modus operandi.
But overall, I think it went pretty darn good, to be honest. Like, the nutritionist, she was stumped a lot of the time, and yeah, you'll see, okay?
Alright, I haven't actually seen this interview yet, but since it's part of this video, I'm sure we'll determine very quickly whether or not the nutritionist was stumped by her proclamations or by something else.
Millions of followers across the globe.
Oh, hang on, let me have a look here. Let's go to the...
But this is why I don't think that she was any less well put together than she would normally have been in any other circumstance. Like, she has the full benefit of audio and video recording software and editing software, and she's still doing this. Like, my videos are not very complex either, but at least I can do a fade and stuff here and there and cut out the parts I don't want you to hear in general.
They're the social media stars promoting health and fitness to millions of followers across the globe. But now Instagram's self-proclaimed diet gurus are under fire from experts who say they're spreading misinformation and encouraging disordered eating.
So basically, yeah, it's kind of lining up exactly as I thought it would. The people who know what they're talking about are complaining about the people who don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, let's keep going.
She's been forced to hit back at accusations she's suffering from orthorexia.
It is not about being obsessed about what you eat. It is about actually giving about what you put in your body.
So it's not about caring about what you put in your body, it's about caring about what you put in your body. Wait a minute, I'm really bad at this. I wonder if that thought ever went through her head.
Actually caring how you feel. Feeling good about yourself. And
so basically, she's saying if you do not eat the foods that she thinks you should eat, you do not feel good about yourself or care about yourself. This shows a very distinct lack of self-awareness. Because if your mentality is based on the idea that you can't feel good unless you are obsessing about the food you eat, then you definitely have a condition whereby you obsess about the food you eat.
realizing, making that connection between the carbohydrates and the brain and body fuel.
And again, she's going back to the idea that if you eat anything other than the most simple carbohydrates, you are not engaging in good ethical behavior. And furthermore, it will hurt your body to eat anything that is not strictly carbohydrates. And you cannot be a good person if you do not eat strictly carbohydrates. I mean, I like candy bars as much as the next person, but I'm not going to live on them.
And the sugar. And realizing that that is actually what you need to feel your best. That is closest to our physiological design.
This is a person who clearly does not understand physiology. You need protein, you need carbohydrates, you need lipids, you need fats, you need all sorts of things to run your physiology, not just carbohydrates. You can burn carbohydrates as energy, sure, but if you aren't getting the other things, you're going to start having problems. The fact again is reinforced that she obsesses over the fact that if a food is not strictly carbohydrates, and I suppose fiber, because, you know, plants have lots of fiber, then somehow it's not a good food to eat, and she absolutely should not ingest it. And she is saying exactly the same thing about you. If you engage in eating any food that is not high in carbohydrates and low in animal, you are also a bad person who does not care about yourself. This is a bad idea to tell people that they are bad people for doing things she does not do, especially when some of the people she is talking to probably do have similar neuropathic conditions and may actually contemplate self-harm through the things they eat or do not eat, intentionally or not.
And Freely joins us now from Adelaide, and dietitian and nutritionist Lindy Cohen is here in the studio. So good morning to you both. So Lindy, I just mentioned the term orthorexia. It's something we should be concerned about, is it? It's this current clean eating obsession over social media. What is orthorexia for people who don't understand?
Yeah, so orthorexia is a relatively new eating disorder, and sufferers have a preoccupation or an obsession with healthy eating. They may take extreme measures, be quite obsessive with the things that they can and can't eat. I've definitely noticed an increase in the amount of clients I see with orthorexia.
Well, isn't it just being mindful about what you eat, though, and what you choose to put in your body?
Yeah, but there is a limit, and I think that orthorexia takes it to the next level. It's really an obsession where you fear certain foods, you can't eat certain foods, and it becomes quite controlling.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. That sounds precise, concise, and well delivered.
Freely, you're no stranger to controversy over your diet. I mean, what do you say to people who think that you're encouraging eating disorders?
I'm doing exactly the opposite, because I'm actually helping liberate women around the world, saying, hey, you can eat as much plant foods as you want and you can feel amazing and you can look your best.
So she may think that she is liberating some women, and I don't think this is correct, because telling people what they should and should not eat based upon your own personal experience is dangerous. If you, for example, suggest to someone that they should only eat plants, and they happen to eat only plants that are high in carbohydrates and they have a predisposition for diabetes, for example, or they have an iron deficiency, or any number of other latent conditions which could be exacerbated by only eating certain foods and removing completely certain other foods, you can in fact harm those people. Not everyone, especially in America, can afford to just go to the doctor and get blood tests and make sure everything is good all the time. And most people, in America at least, and presumably in most countries, cannot afford to just eat one type of food. It just simply isn't viable. And with that in mind, we move on to the next part of the video.
And you can also look after animals at the same time. So I just say that you need to put into perspective, and it's always people who are out of shape who seem to be saying that to me, or who don't have the results that I have.
And here we hit the nail on the head squarely and surely to remove all doubt. She is saying anyone who is not exactly like her and engaging in exactly the same behavior as her is by definition unhealthy. But the difference is, you don't have to stop using animal byproducts to be a good vegan or vegetarian, because for the most part, things like honey do not harm animals. Again, without beekeepers and apiaries, the bee populations would be much lower than they presently are. Without dairy farms, many of the cows which are milked would run dangers of having mastitis and other conditions. You don't need to stop producing wool just because it grows on a sheep. It is not harmful at all to the animal, and in fact is very useful sometimes. Because if that wool builds up, it can cause dangerous conditions for that animal. So to say we absolutely should be strictly vegan is not necessarily looking out for the welfare of the environment or the animals that exist within it.
So plant-based diet is proven to be a very, very good diet, Lindy. Now, if Freely is advocating this on social media, she has every right to do that, doesn't she? What makes this dangerous?
Well, she certainly does have a right, because there are no regulations at the moment that control what people can and can't say.
While that may be true in Australia and other countries, in America it is actually a criminal action to misrepresent yourself as a medical professional when you are not one, including a dietitian or a dietary expert.
Nor should they ever be.
Well,
But don't you think if somebody's going to be giving nutritional advice, they need some sort of formal qualification?
Is the responsibility on Freely or the person watching the video?
it's a very
Good question, everybody.
It's a
See
very
what I
good
did
question.
there?
It's a very good question.
So what do you think? So do you think that you need to be an expert to promote this sort of stuff?
Listen, there are a huge range of people out there who are just providing inspiration and tips via social media, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. My issue is when you endorse an extreme way of eating that isn't sustainable for most people to adopt based on your personal experience. When you're a dietitian or a scientist, we use thousands and thousands of research articles before giving advice. And if you're giving advice based on your own personal experience alone, well, that can be incredibly dangerous.
If I had the ability to be so concise in my own opinions, my videos would only be half as long, I reckon. But yes, I believe she is absolutely correct.
Okay. Freely, do you believe that people should take your advice
Definitely.
or should they take it as you being a professional, or just take it as you being like, hey, I'm just putting this out there?
So I have conventional certification in nutrition, but I don't use that training at all anymore because it's so heavily funded by the meat and dairy industry that the information is just incorrect.
What certification do you have, Freely?
So I have certification in nutrition, so advanced
From where?
certification. From the Australian Institute of Fitness.
Okay.
All right, the Australian Institute of Fitness, located at fitness.edu.au, is indeed accredited by the Australian government. It has Certificate 3 in Fitness, Certificate 4 in Fitness, and a couple others which are not as related. And the Certificate 4 in Fitness course for personal trainer that they have advertised shows that the course will also teach you how to use a diverse range of personal training equipment, operate in different environments, and design training programs for one-on-one and group training, and also functional training. Certificate 3 has similar aspects to it, none of which involves dietary sciences. So, while I believe that the Australian Institute is fine, and I believe that this girl may be one of the best personal trainers in the world, I do not think that she has a very good understanding of dietary science. And I do not think she is accredited to discuss it, even though she just claimed to be so. I think this is a misrepresentation of her certificate. I would be glad to be shown wrong, but in the meantime...
So I'm getting these results for thousands of girls via my YouTube channel, which has nearly 600,000 subscribers and 12 million views per month.
Oh, I called it, didn't I? The bandwagon fallacy, the argument from authority fallacy, the argument from anecdote fallacy. Notice how she doesn't cite any actual science, she just says that some girls are self-reporting that it works. That's not the same thing. And since she is arguing so heavily for blood tests and things in the rest of her videos, I wonder if she has the thousands and thousands of blood tests of those girls over a many-year period, versus the girls who are not taking her courses. I doubt she does, because I don't think she knows what a double-blind is.
There are a lot of...
Oh my god, are you qualified? They always focus on that, but anybody can memorize some misinformation, memorize and parrot misinformation and put it out there. It's called chant learning. You just kind of chant after the teacher, la la la.
So yes, basically, eat all you want, as long as it's plants. Eat all you want, as long as it's plants. Don't eat stuff that the dairy and meat industry tell you to. Just eat what you want. I have plenty of testimonials. Eat whatever you want, as long as it's plants. I have plenty of testimonials. Is that how it works? Tell me, is that how it works? When you just parrot the same misinformation over and over again.
It doesn't matter, but when it's coming from the meat and dairy industry, it's going to be highly corrupted. So the recommendations are going to be more meaty and more dairy because a lot of cash, most of the cash is coming from the meat and dairy industry.
Whereas if you buy my book and spend money on it, I'm not going to tell you just what you want to hear because I think it's going to make me money. Certainly not. I'm just going to tell you that there are a lot of people who say it works without actually giving you any science. That way you'll pay me money. And there's no vested interest there at all, now is there?
And people just don't understand that. That's why it's so inaccurate, this information. And
I could not have said it better myself. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this video. It's been quite long enough already, I think. It's a lot of waffle, a lot of detritus that doesn't need any more advertising than it's already gotten. Again, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. I'm really interested. If you have something you want me to review, please let me know about it. If you want, there are links to my Patreon, Twitter, and all that good stuff down in the below. And I look forward to having you listen to my voice next time. Best regards and have a good day.